Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalists. Stay for this video. I'm going to be explaining some of the things you're seeing unfold around you. What's going on in UK? What's going on in US? What's going on in the rest of the world? Well, if you're in UK, you probably woke up to headlines such as this one. Ghost Town Britain, the strikes that you see from the union sector, this man right there. You see people complaining about the prices not not the salaries not being according to the inflation for some time now. This translates into poverty. You see something similar going on in the United States as well. Inflation going through the roof. Price gases that are impossible to keep up with in a country like the United States, where people basically don't rely on the public transportation that you have in UK, for example. So people, even poor people across the United States, they have maybe 2-3 cars because they actually need those to get to their workplace. That's not the same situation all over the world. So let's get to this right away, and I'll help you understand some of the things that you see happening, and I'll also help you understand some of the things that are not being said, and I'll help you understand some of the lies you're being told. Before I go on with the video, remember, this is what I do. This is my profession. I actually wrote a book about surviving the economic collapse, which is this book right here, which just has over 1,000 reviews in Amazon. It's one of the best-selling books in the topic, Surviving the Economic Collapse. You have the links below. Also, I have a couple other ones that you probably want to check out, given everything going on. Street Survival Skills is the practical side, self-defense, practical things on survival and preparedness, which has to do a lot with the consequences of what you're seeing right now, what we're going to be discussing in the video. And also my third book, which is Bugging Out and Relocating, maybe one of the books that's a little bit more for people that are looking into reconsidering where they're living. Would I be better off moving within my country or abroad? That's what I cover in that book as well. So I want to start with this video here. This is from, and one of the things that I can say I like, which is one of the very few things I like about YouTube lately, is they actually have this little thing where they tell you, how this is, but at least I see that they tell you who's the actual, when it's a public broadcasting channel, so as to help people understand really where the news is coming from. It's not the same thing if you're seeing something coming from the government-owned media or something that's privately owned. These days, especially, it's particularly confusing because the elites, privately owned, colludes with the government that's supposed to be public in 99% of the cases, but still nice. Anyway, this is a public channel, and this is what the Union Railway has to say about what's happening.
The nonsense that I've heard the Tories spout today is blatant dishonesty, and Chris Philp is carrying on with it now.
Do you really want a general strike?
I don't think we...
Look how, again, keep in mind that the media... Do you really want a general strike? There's no way of you answering that other than looking like a complete piece of crap and an absolute monster. So that is something, he actually navigates that keep in mind, this is a union guy. Of course, he has his own interests as well.
General strike. What we need is coordinated action by working people so that we can restore balance in this society. What we've got is full employment and falling wages. It's the most peculiar economic situation we've ever had. And today, the companies proposed to me face-to-face that they would extend the working week from 35 hours to 40, and they would cut the wages of railway workers going forward. Not just to cut them against inflation, but cut them in reality, lower the salaries. Now, I heard that out of the mouths of the train operating companies today, and that's the agenda that Grant Shapps and Rishi Sunak are putting forward to impoverish rail workers and every other public sector worker in this country.
Well, let me bring in some of your colleagues. We cannot have a situation where the poor are getting poorer and people like Chris Philp and Grant Shapps representing the rich are empowering the rich, dividends are up and billionaires are richer than ever. Let me bring in...
You can say whatever you want about this man. I only know that he's a union representative, and I know pretty well what kind of shady businesses goes on with those folks. You really cannot fault him for this last bit here, because he's spot on regarding his...
Representing the rich are empowering the rich, dividends are up and billionaires...
Do you have any idea how expensive it is to take a train in UK? I have family over there. My brother, what is it, 4,000-5,000 pounds a year give or take. Let me know in the comments section how much you pay for it. It is super expensive. And you may be thinking, well, that's the only way in which we can afford this fantastic system that we have. It is really not all that fantastic, and it's not just about affording something so as to have it, which of course you have to pay for stuff. Even the stuff that people think is free, there's nothing free in this world. Everything you're going to be paying either directly or indirectly. The thing is that you have some people that are extremely wealthy, well beyond anything that most people could possibly understand. You have your owners of these companies that have those insane fortunes. You having, what is it, Bronson is sending himself to Mars and sending rockets up in the air with the money that he's making specifically out of this stuff. So if you have the most expensive public transportation in pretty much anywhere or close to that, and for years, the good times and the bad times, during the good times they just kept on piling that up at insane rates, and when things get a little bit tougher, you have to pay for that. How is it that you pay for that? Through inflation. When inflation keeps on going up, the salaries of the people that this man is, supposedly representing their interests, those salaries don't go up accordingly, and that's being money taken away from you so as to finance not only the insane prices of everything that people are using, but also the insane spending from the government themselves. When they look at this and say, well, we cannot, help this out. And here I want to show the opposite side of the story, because this is his version, and this is the version of the government man.
Helping people who need are designed to help people it's for people on the world. So far this year, the government's put together a package that adds up to £37 billion. That's the £150 on the council tax band A to D. It's the £650 for people on the bottom third of incomes via universal credit. It's the £400 grant against heating bills. It's improving the universal credit taper. It's cutting 5p from fuel duty. All of those things are designed to help people in this difficult situation, particularly people on lower incomes, which are not rail workers who are on median salaries of £44,000, much higher than most people. The national median.
Look at the guy in the background. He's saying, "No, man, he's actually, yeah." The guy knows, because I think this is the teachers' unions. I mean, the NHS is also in a huge mess. But let's keep on listening.
Salary is about £26,000 or £27,000. So we are helping people who need helping. But look,
we are helping people. The idea that the government is helping you, it's not that they're taking your money and giving you peanuts. They're actually helping you.
On this point about the barrister situation is a bit different, so I accept that. But taking the general point about pay increases that are at the level of inflation, if we do that, and you made the point in your question a few minutes ago, what we currently have, I hope, is a transitory, temporary inflation situation caused by those external factors I mentioned: Ukraine, China, COVID, and so on.
They're so shameless.
If we start putting through pay increases at that level, it'll turn a temporary problem into a permanent problem, and then there'll be another round of wage increase.
Does this ring a bell? Blaming on Putin, blaming on Ukraine, blaming on COVID. Don't say a word about the insane spending that you did these last couple years so as to benefit the elite. That the union guy is actually spot on. These folks that benefit the most during these years. Now you're paying for the party. Now someone has to pay for it. It's not the $30 billion that we're helping the aid. Those are peanuts compared to the money they made. So the dude here is telling you that we're helping people with $300 is completely ignoring. He talks about China. He talks about the pandemic. He talks about Ukraine. He's not talking about the insane spending spree that they went on, giving themselves money, giving the pharmaceuticals, giving the big corporations. Most of those aids that they were giving were directly going into the pockets of the elite. These years of destroying what kind of business? Go on, folks. Let me know in the comments there below. What kind of businesses were being destroyed? The small business, the family business, the small retail business. Those were the ones being destroyed. Who were benefiting the most? The tech companies, the ones selling you stuff online, the stuff that was being bought for you, not on your own decision. It was being bought for you with your own money that was it was taking away literally taking away at gunpoint money from your own pocket to finance the elites. And now that has to be paid with the sweat out of your back, with your blood, sweat, and tears. And that's what you're seeing right now. Now, it's also very interesting. These guys are very good at what they do. This man, he's actually very good at what he does. He's lying through his teeth, telling you that
if we do that, and you made the point in your question, by those external factors I mentioned, Ukraine, China, COVID, and so on, if we start putting through pay increases at that level, it'll turn a temporary problem into a permanent problem. Okay. And then
it's a temporary problem. You heard this in the United States as well. Inflation, it's only temporary. Let me know. I literally wrote the book about this stuff. None of this is temporary. When you see this kind of mechanic going on, this is a mechanic by which they steal money from the middle class and the poor. Usually the poorer that you are, the more you are being robbed. Because who's going to be paying for who affects the most the higher prices of fuel, of public transportation in Europe and UK? Who suffers the most the hikes in price of energy, of gasoline, of food? Of course, the poorer you are, the more of an issue that is. If you're well off, if you're doing okay, you don't give much of a damn if the food bill is doubling. Okay, yeah, sure, well, that sucks, but it's not that much of a big deal. The poorer you are, the more that hurts. And that's the mechanic going on. And so they actually make a great job. Notice how it's the same in the United States, same thing in UK. This is temporary, just, stuck it up. What he's basically saying is, get used to the idea of being poor. You will be like this. Long term, this is going to be permanent for you. Poverty is going to be a generation of poverty for you. I'm okay with doing that because I still have to look after the interests of the elite. But you believe for a second that it's just temporary. Things will get better. We cannot raise those salaries because if we raise those salaries, what's going to be happening? Well, it is true that if you end up in a mechanism by which you keep on going at inflation and you keep on raising salaries nonstop, like it's typically done in South America, you end up with this, uncontrolled spree of inflation that has no end. Now, if you're a little bit smarter than that, what you can do is squeeze a little bit, take a nice percentage, 5-10% of people's wages, a little bit, 15%, depending on how much they protest or not, 15-20%, you squeeze them for a few more drops of blood, and you just don't actually kill them. You just make them think that, you'll just get better eventually. They get used to the idea of that, and eventually when they find themselves being poor, man, that is life. That's basically it. Now the elite is the one that doubled their net worth this last couple years. Folks, wake up to what's going on. Wake up to all of these realities. One more lie said also by, not only are they saying that repeating the lie of this is the Putin price hike, exact same words from Joe Biden as we saw in previous videos, same thing being said in UK. Also another lie, this is all the same all over the world. No, it's not, man. The way in which people are being squeezed, in the way in which the middle class is being squeezed in UK, in the United States, is not the same way it's being done in other parts of the world where maybe they have a system that is already a little bit more a middle class that cannot be squeezed as much, or that has maybe a different way in which it's structured, depending on the country you're looking at. If it's a country that has a stronger lobby, like in the case of the United States, you're going to be milked the hell during these times. If you have a lobby as strong as in the UK, they get away with doing these sort of things. In other countries, it's going to be depending. It's not the same all across the board. This stuff that's going on in Latin America, for example, it's already pretty bad for decades already, so the hit is not going to be as bad. That's why you see people looking at, hey, maybe I'll move to Mexico where my money goes along further. Many countries across Europe don't have the insane spending or the same cost of living that you have as if you had living in London, for example. So you would be a lot better off, even with a middle class wage, living in somewhere else that isn't as expensive to catch a train or pay your bills. So all of these things, think, be smart. Don't let the propaganda get to you and be manipulated in such a way. Prepare while there's still time. This is just getting worse and worse, and if you're not ready for it, it's going to be hitting you harder than if you took the necessary precautions. See you on our next video. Take care.